Meeting called to order at 6 o'clock. Please cover your hearts for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the
to
flag
the flag
of the United
of the
States
United
of
States of
America
America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which
for
it
which
which
it
it
stands,
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 one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
under God,
visible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with
and
liberty and
justice.
justice for all.
Thank you. I stress the indivisible part, and we're going to do inauguration tomorrow, and I think we should be very proud as Americans. There. So, at any rate, we are being broadcast live over Van Buren Television, Van Buren Television
It's the agenda.
channel. Clerk Wright, would you please take the roll?
Trustee Boynton? Trustee Boynton? Okay, you have a microphone issues. Trustee Miller?
here,
Trustee Martin?
Here,
Trustee Frazier?
Here,
Treasurer Bud?
here,
Clerk is present. Supervisor?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The executive summary, today's consent agenda includes the minutes, the prepaid list, the voucher list. It also has a resolution for an annual MDOT maintenance permit, basically so that MDOT can work on the sides of the roads with Wayne County and such like that. We have some new regulations from SUVA, South Huron Valley Utility Authority. There's an amendment there. We're also reappointing our entire recreational committee, consisting of Tammy Wall, Kimberly Knopfs, Charles Coleman, Daniel Bellinger, Denise Willoughby, Todd O'Neill, Morgan Stuckey, who's our student rep, and Kennedy Plummer, who's also a student rep. They're all being appointed to the Recreation Committee with terms to expire on February 1st of 2022. It's a 1 year, so we do it every year. Some of the new business includes discussion on an amendment to and restated Urban County Cooperative Agreement for the CDBG program. This probably should have been moved to the consent agenda. It basically just says that we apply to the county for CDBG money the way we always do because we don't have enough population to do it on our own. We are also having discussion to relax certain administrative review processes and fees for outdoor food and beverage service and retail due to the COVID pandemic. We are then making a presentation for improvements to the French Landing Park, and then a presentation and discussion on the community center feasibility study, and a discussion on changing the current business hours for the Township Hall to by appointment until March 31st. At the end, there are also some budgetary reports for everybody to take a look at. We'll move on to the next item, which is adoption of the revised agenda. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the revised agenda as presented.
Okay. Frazier, and I got it from Mr. Martin. There's no question. Clerk Wright, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Frazier?
Yes,
Trustee Martin?
yes,
Trustee Miller?
yes,
Trustee Boynton?
yes,
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes for me. Treasurer Bud?
yes,
Supervisor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, clerk. Next is the revised consent agenda. Let me think, whose turn is it? I can't remember. We were going by alphabetical. I think it's Frazier's, isn't it? No. It'd be Martin's turn. Third week, right? I'm sorry.
you say so. I make a motion, we adopt the revised consent agenda. Item 1, board meeting minutes of December 15th, 2020. Item 2, prepaid list of December 17th, 2020. Item 3, prepaid list of January 7th, 2021. Item 4, prepaid list of January 14th, 2021. Item 5, voucher list of January 5th, 2021. Item 6, voucher list of January 19, And it says 2020, but I'm guessing that's 2021.
Yep.
Number 7, approval of the reappointment
what'd you
of
say?
Tammy Walt. I'm sorry.
Oh, you said January 19th? Yeah, it should be 2021.
Item 6 to 2021.
Yeah.
We make that correction. Item 7, approval of the reappointment of Tammy Wall, Kimberly Knopf, Charles Coleman, Daniel Bellinger, Denise Willoughby, and Todd O'Neill, Morgan Stuckey, the student rep, and Kennedy Plummer, student rep, to the Recreation Committee, with terms to expire February 1st, 2022. Item 8, approval of resolution 2021-04, the annual MDOT maintenance permit. Item 9, approval of resolution 2021-01, the SUVA rules and regulations amendment.
Support.
Who supported? Bud?
Sherry Bud.
Okay. All right. So I have a motion and I have support. Clerk Wright, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Boyden,
Yes.
trustee Frazier.
yes,
Yes for me, Treasurer Bud.
Yes.
Supervisor,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. And next week, remind this feeble-minded person sometimes that, yeah, Trustee Miller, you're next on that list. I'll forget again and just so. Public hearing, we have none. Correspondence and announcements and presentations. I have basically that we still are having the Forgotten Harvest. They are still wrapping around the building. The next one, January 26th from 2 to 4:30. Or while supplies last, they almost always last, but sometimes the last week people get 4 dozen eggs and 4 pounds of chicken or something. But I mean, yeah, we got a lot of food. Also, of course, there's a small business survival grant that's being administered by Wayne County in conjunction with the Detroit Economic Development Corporation. I am assured that Wayne County is going to be approving anybody in Wayne County. So we are not going to be playing second fiddle to the city of Detroit. So please, if you're a small business and you're trying to get your stuff in and get it in, of course, the PPP is also available, the payroll protection plan. Mr. Wright, Clerk Wright, do you have anything?
Yeah, you know I do.
I know.
And I'd like to read something I put together here in memory of Martin Luther King. This year, we commemorate the 53rd anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., a man who, in his short life, was our nation's greatest peacemaker. This time provides us with the opportunity to reflect on his dream. Through his inspiration speeches, Dr. King played a pivotal role in ending segregation as a leader in the advancement of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Acts of 1965. Best known for his speech, I Have a Dream, sharing his vision for a more diverse America where all people enjoy the benefits of equality. He provided a model for humanitarian rights, utilizing grassroots efforts of nonviolence, civil disobedience based on Christian belief. He used these efforts to unify mankind in a push for one common goal. While Dr. King and other leaders made tremendous strides for equality, the push for civil rights remains a challenge today. As a nation, we cannot ignore the inequalities that persist as we pause to remember Dr. King's accomplishments. May we be reminded of how far we have gone, reflect on how far we still have to go. In the words of Dr. King, I'd like to cite a few of his quotes. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at the time of challenge and controversy. Darkness cannot drive out of darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Nothing in the world is more dangerous than ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subjects and verb agree to serve. You only need to have a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And we take a moment to remember Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak?
Through the chair.
Sherry Bud. Treasurer.
Thank you, Clerk Wright, for that. And now kind of maybe on a happier and a sad note, I would like to send out, I'm sure on behalf of everybody in the community, a great big thank you to the Belleville High School football team for the work and the dedication they put in to trying to get to the very top. The game on Saturday came out different than we wanted it to, but they played a good season. They had the community behind us, and it was one bright spot in all that happened. So I would like to say a special thank you to the players, the coaches, the staff, especially the parents who were there and has worked with these kids, how they've all tried to stay safe. And on a personal note, as a grandma, I got a grandson that played. Luke, we're so thankful for you. We're looking forward. He's got 2 more years. The seniors got a lot of nice scholarships. They've been recognized. They've broken all kinds of records. And it was just so very proud for the community to support this team.
It was a nail biter.
And I know.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
okay.
good. They did
You
their
know,
best.
They're gonna get there. You know, it's sometimes it takes a while to get to greatness, but they're on the road. They're gonna make it. We got a great coach. He does great things with those kids. He put Belleville High School on the map. They're gonna get there. I believe they're gonna win the championship. Probably before your grandson graduates. So tell them to hang in there.
I will. That's good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if anybody watched, but it was double overtime, time running out, and
Yep.
they could have kicked an extra point and tied it, and said they went for the 2 and did not get it. But I mean, that's it doesn't get closer than that.
Yep.
All right. Where are we? Public comment. Is there anybody from the public? Moderator, could you see if anybody from the public wants to make a comment?
Doesn't look like it at this time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to double back one more second and say, does anybody else from the board want to make an announcement or presentation? I didn't do a last call. Okay, all right. Moving ahead, we're on to unfinished business. We have none. We're into new business. First item is discussion on and to consider approval of resolution 2021-03, the amended and restated Urban County Cooperative Agreement for the Federal Community Development Block Grant Program. Director Power, are you on the line? Can I get a motion for this?
I make a
I make a
motion.
motion.
Okay, I got
I'll-
Treasurer Bud, and then I got Miss Miller.
Support.
Trustee Miller. Okay. Director Power.
Okay, good evening, board. Thank you. As the supervisor said, this is a pretty straightforward item.
Yeah.
I'll give a summary, and then it shouldn't be too much of an explanation, but I'll just go over the terms of this agreement really quickly. In the agreement that you have before you, there is a summary of why this agreement is in place. There's a statement that clarifies that as an urban county, Wayne County makes funding under the Federal Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, which I'll just call the Act, available to communities including Van Buren Township. The agreement states terms that include that community development block grant and home grant program applications must be made through Wayne County by the township. The county will select CDBG or community development block grant activities and does annual reporting for those activities. The county executes applications, plans, programs, and projects on the township's behalf under the act. The township will continue undertaking community renewal activities, including our demolition and blight program. The township and county will cooperate to ensure compliance with applicable laws. And the township has policies in place prohibiting the excessive use of force in their public safety. The agreement is good for 3 years, at which time there's an automatic renewal. So the township will continue to be able to make applications for projects under the CDBG programs through the county. And the agreement that allows that to happen will automatically renew in 3 years. Unless there are future amendments made, in which case we will have to sign the agreement. So the agreement is good so long as CDBG funds are available. We will continue informing the county of any income our programs generate. Our income goes to the county or is used for CDBG eligible activities. And the county will monitor the program and income and reports to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, which oversees the program. So again, this is a program we've been operating under for years. There has been some minor changes to the policies under the act, and so that's why there's a minor change to the language of this agreement and why the agreement has to be reinstated. So the county is reaching out to all of their partnering municipalities that they help to administer grant programs for, and we are included in that list. And so we were asked to execute the agreement, and in doing so, the supervisor will execute the agreement. We're asking also for a resolution from the board just to enable that agreement to be executed. If there are any questions, I'm glad to follow up with Terry Carroll, the Economic Development Director from Wayne County, who prompted us to make sure we get this done. And otherwise, this will, I believe, on July 1st, set us forth for the next 3 years under the CDBG programs available. So any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Are there any questions for Director Power?
No, it's a good program.
Hearing no questions, then I'm going to ask Clerk Wright to call the roll.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Frazier,
Yes.
trustee Boyden,
Yep.
treasurer Bud.
Yes.
Yes for me, supervisor.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is discussion on to consider approval of resolution 2021-02, which is to relax certain administrative review processes and fees regarding temporary land uses for outdoor food and beverage service in retail in response to the COVID-19 pandemic through December 31st of 2021. Can I get a motion?
Supervisor, I make a motion to consider a new resolution to relax certain administrative review processes and fees regarding temporary land uses for outdoor food and beverage services and retail in response to the COVID-19 pandemic through December 31st, 2021.
Support.
Support.
They got Clerk right there? All right. So, Mr. Power, this one's you again.
Yes, thank you again, board. So the board might recall that on July 7th of last year, we passed a very similar resolution enabling businesses that serve food or drinks or provide retail to move their operations outdoors. And the resolution is requested again to enable those activities through the end of this year. This resolution initially was enabled through October 31st of last year in order to kind of give a reasonable time frame based on expectations for not knowing how long there would be restrictions in place, not knowing how long the pandemic would last, and giving a reasonable time frame to allow businesses to operate in the warm weather months. But as we know, the health conditions that impose limits on occupancy still are in effect. And so, we had this initial sunset on October 31st of last year. We see the need to reopen this through the end of this year. There's hopeful news on the horizon with the vaccines in distribution, but we know that those will take some time. And so We wanted to make sure that we give our businesses an opportunity to continue serving food, serving beverages, selling products outside to enable their full occupancy, where they're limited on their occupancy indoors. There are more limitations on the governor's orders than there were in last July, but there are also new limits under the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services that are anticipated to keep occupancy limited, at least for the near term. So the terms of this resolution are very similar to what you had last July. The application for businesses to apply is.
All right, who's got, 1 second. Moderator, can you figure out who it is that's messed up? Moderator,
It sounds.
now it stops.
We're just,
Everyone, so.
yeah, you're just gonna have to remember to unmute yourself when you talk.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
And so, so the application form is identical as of right now. There weren't any necessary changes. It's a simple application form for businesses to complete with a plot plan, which is a simple version of a site plan. And there's just information about the perimeter area, the parking spaces impacted, making sure that there are still barrier-free spaces or handicap spaces available to patrons, making sure that there are drive aisles or fire lanes still accessible for our fire department, making sure that crossings and wayfinding is shown or provided for if necessary, setbacks are provided, and additional notes or submittals, such as if a outdoor license from the MLCC for outdoor service of alcohol is requested. So with that simple set of submittals, it's a free application that gets processed administratively, which is in contrast to the Planning Commission administered process for a typical temporary use permit, or typical temporary use permit that lasts more than 7 days. Or in the case of a restaurant that may want to build a permanent structure for outdoor seating, that would go through site plan review. But this, in a broad summary, gives our businesses a continued chance to operate at the capacity they need to succeed, and we're asking the board to reconsider it. Just a couple of minor changes from the last version that I didn't just mention. I went through another round of feedback with our fire department, our DDA, and our police department. We just tightened up some language based on their recommendations and the recommendations of planning commissioners. There's a note now in the resolution about how applicable fire codes need to be met. There's also a note that this applies specifically to stores or restaurants that have a brick and mortar presence in the township. So this applies to our restaurants that are either leasing or own space in the township. And there is an explanation of the economic impacts that's also in the resolution that provides some justification for relieving the fees.
Okay.
So we would invite the board to consider this again and extend this through December 31st. And I'm glad to answer any questions about it.
Before you have any questions, I'm going to give you the supervisor's description of what this is. Basically, in the time he explained that, you could have filled out 3 of these applications. You can fill this application out in 5 minutes. It's the easiest application I've ever seen. You just have to draw a picture on a piece of paper that shows where your tent is, put a little X on it. You know, it's that simple. And generally, we are getting these things approved within 24 hours, and they don't cost anything. So it's a 5-minute application. It's piece of cake to fill out, and we generally get it approved. We've got orders to get them approved quickly.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
So this doesn't apply. This is only to brick and mortar businesses, not food trucks that pop up randomly, correct?
That is correct. The food trucks would still go through the temporary land use or special use process.
All right, thank you. We want to support these businesses. So how many are there that have submitted these applications? So what do you forecast?
So program in 2020 didn't receive a lot of response from our community's businesses. Applebee's and the Belleville Yacht Club had applications. My understanding is a lot of our restaurants like Dos Pesos, Twisted Rooster, some of the others, they when they have occupancy limits, at least for example, Dos Pesos, I know they had been just focusing and confining their resources to making sure they were able to do good curbside pickup, and they weren't able to make the full leap into the outdoor and indoor dining. So different businesses are going to handle this different ways. But so long story short, there were only a couple of businesses that took advantage in 2020, but we do want to make it available to businesses that may want to take advantage of it this year.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none. Clerk Wright, would you call the roll?
Yeah. Trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Frazier. Yes.
Unmute, Sherry.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Boyden,
Yep.
Treasurer Bud,
Yes.
trustee Frazier.
Yes.
Yes for me, supervisor.
Yes.
Motion passes. I just want to say, I guess probably only have to remember only Reggie, probably restaurants that's capable of having something outside. I don't think those pesos capable of having outdoor eating based on where they are. I don't know where they would set it up at. So it's probably why places like that haven't applied, but other places that has parking areas probably could apply.
How do we get the businesses to know about this? How do we put it out there for them?
They call, we tell them, but I mean, that's about all we can do.
All right, thank you.
I have to add that I'm hearing squeaks and squawks from everywhere. So if I step over somebody and go to a vote when somebody else has something to speak, just jump in and say, hey, all right? So we're on to number 3. Presentation and discussion regarding improvements to French Landing Park. I don't believe we're asking for any vote on that. Director Best?
Yes, thank you.
We're not asking for a vote on this, are we?
It is a presentation and discussion regarding improvements to French Landing Park. That's the intention of today.
But there's no request for approval, is there?
If the board is happy with this plan, then we would be moving to potentially bid this out based on the comments of the board tonight. But there's no action needed.
Okay, so there would, yeah, so the action needed would be at the time of the bid out, right? Okay. You know what, I might want to ask for a vote anyway to make sure I've got a meeting of the minds.
But if right, because if the next step is to bid, shouldn't we
Yeah,
have an approval on this?
yeah, I would like that. It would make me feel better. Okay, go ahead with your presentation. Oh, wait, no. I'd like to know, do we have a motion for approval of this plan at this time?
So moved.
Support.
All right, Fraser and Nora. Okay, go ahead with the presentation.
Well, very simply from, if you remember from last meeting, we had presented to you the proposed plans for the French Landing Park improvements for phase 1. It included the master plan for French Landing Park. And we discussed the basic outline of what would be done at the project site. From that meeting, it was clear that additional comments from the board would be forthcoming, and the opportunity for the board to make comments on the phase 1 plan was given. I had several trustees meet with me and provide comments. The feedback for the majority of the project comments were for things that are in future phases. So we've made note of those, such as additional picnic tables, additional lighting, the potential for a canoe and kayak launch in the future. There was talk about the landscaping that would take place along the roadside, things of that nature. What I'd like to briefly do is at this point, is briefly remind the board what the plan is. Talk about why it's important to move forward, and then answer any questions that you have, and then let the board decide for itself where they'd like to go. In this project, if you remember, and I will hopefully be able to pull this up here. Shut that for a second. Let me just get this going. We can. And oh, good. Here we go. Let's see. This one. Okay, I will share my screen. Right. And you should be seeing this now. French Landing Park is a very small park abutted with the lake, the Haggerty Road, a DTE substation, and the French Landing Dam. There's limited space to work with, but the limited space to work with is one of the jewels of our township. It has been utilized by many people as an access point to the lake, a place to be on the water, a place to fish, a place to picnic, a place to rest on their way on bike to along the trail on Huron River Drive, as well as through the metro parks. A master plan was put in place last year, worked on by our landscape architect, Russell Design, who's here with us to answer any questions. This master plan that was developed outlined the potential projects that could take place to enhance the parks based on the users and uses of the park and potential future uses of the park that were outlined in the recreation master plan survey. What this project represents is phase one, the basics for creating a blank slate of project to allow for future development on the park based on the needs identified by the residents and approved by the Board of Trustees. Key to this plan was to create a visual sightline into the park from the road so that as people drive by, they see the jewel that we know is there and also can see the water and the activity happening in the park. This project focuses on three things. One, replacement of the replacement of pavement and sidewalks to a safe condition. Two, the adding of benches and a pavilion covered seating area. And three, the creating of programmable spaces for future uses and landscaping around those spaces to allow those future uses. On this print, you can see that this is the main area that will be worked on. There's a handful of things that will happen on this side, but the majority of the things done on the project will happen here. Sidewalks will be replaced, landscaping will be put in, areas, all the existing vegetation on the turf will be removed and reseeded. A sprinkling system with a pump from the lake will be utilized to water this grass that is put in. There will be a larger pavilion area here with a tensile structure, which is the giant tent that we had talked about and looked at last time. That can be for game activities, outdoor classes, picnics. There will be barbecue grills installed in the most likely the second the timing that we do this. It'll be one of the adds to the project. There will be additional seating that will be put in, and the type of seating will match the concept around the township. So there'll be picnic tables and seating chairs. And then as part of this project, and I think I'll let I'll let you answer questions in 1 second. But the best way to describe this project is to set the playing field so that we can have a serious discussion about what else we want at the park in phase 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and however far we want to go. But this makes the park accessible, safe, and usable right now after we do these upgrades. We've spent a lot of time clearing the trees out there, doing native plant introductions, which are low maintenance, low profile. We've spent a lot of time clearing the waterfront and getting the view shed improved. This project is like I said, to set the table for future projects. Mark Russell from Russell Design and I are here. I'd be happy to answer any questions or hear any comments you may have.
Okay, does anybody want to just speak right up? Because I can't see you. Or I can start it off. So,
Supervisor,
thank you, Trustee Frazier.
I just want to say this is a great undertaking and something that we have needed, and I'm very pleased with the work and the dedication that the director has put in on getting this to fruition. I think it'll be a win for our township.
We've all talked about the importance of improving our front door. This is probably our most visible park in the township. And it's, we all know the condition that it's in right now. Unfortunately, it's also at our front door. We have to fix our front doors up because you have an ugly front door, the price of your home goes down. So let's fix that. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, I will add this, that one of the reasons we wanted to get moving on this is because we're about to endeavor into a world where we're going to hopefully look at a community center, which is our next item on the board on this thing. And so we're trying to get this up and rolling this year with a good shot in the arm. We can bring it home over the next 4 years. So the first shot in the arm is going to hurt, but I hope that you guys can back it. All right. Anybody else want to make a comment? Hearing none. Clerk Wright, call the roll.
Okay, Trustee Boyden,
Yep.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Frazier,
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Yes for me, Treasurer Bud,
Yes.
Supervisor,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. We're going to move forward to line item number 4, which is presentation discussion regarding the community center. This doesn't have a vote attached to it. Okay. So let's go right to Director Best.
Thank you. You'll find before you today, Board of Trustees, the final draft of the Community Center Feasibility Study for your review. This document is the culmination of over 1.5 years of work by our consultant team and staff, and was completed with significant input from our residents and you, the Board of Trustees. Please remember that the document we're talking about today is a detailed analysis of the feasibility of building and operating a community center as part of the services provided by Van Buren Township. It is not a finished design or plan, but what it is it is a concept depicted that could potentially be built by the township within the projected budget, meeting the goals outlined by the residents and the community. Today, we'll be discussing with our team members, Bert Kosak and Robert Stempion, as well as our landscape architects here as well. And Elizabeth Renault is also here, who's been an extremely important part of this team. We will be presenting the feasibility study, which I hope you've all had a chance to review by now. This presentation will go very briefly through the basics of the study, and it will provide the facts for you today from that, the highlighted summarized facts. The plan will be available it was available this weekend, starting this weekend online as part of the packet, but will be available for review by the public on our website starting tomorrow. We'll be able to discuss this in detail after the present and answer any questions you have after the presentation. But at this time, I'd like to introduce Robert Stempian from Plant Moran Cressa, who will be walking us through, along with Bert, Elizabeth, and myself, this fantastic feasibility study that we're happy to present today. Robert?
Thank you, Matt. Am I able to share screens?
Yes, sir. You should be.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Oh, great. Great. Well, good evening, everybody. Bert and I and Russell Design are here today to talk a little bit about our community center survey or feasibility study that we did. This took place last year, and it was really a collaborative effort with our team members and the township, and also involves some community engagement as well to derive at this finalization of the community center feasibility report that we put together. So just to give you a background and give you a little bit of the agenda that we have here, we're just going to do some brief introductions, explain who we are and what we do, the feasibility study content, the community survey, which was a very important element of this this report, the program that we put together based on the comments that we received, putting together a preliminary budget, and also some concept designs, which are pretty exciting to see that Bert put together based on the program elements and the workshop feedback and the phone survey feedback as well. And then we have an operational analysis at the end to talk about, and also the next steps. So that being said, my name is Robert Stempian. I'm with Plant Moran. It's Plant Moran Cressa. We're a division of the tax and audit component of Plant Moran. And what we do is that we help our clients with their real estate needs. And we're comprised of architects, construction managers, finance folks, and also project management individuals who have that background. So we're all experienced hires, and our concentration is on the real estate end of the business. Bert Kosick is here today. He is involved with the architectural component of this feasibility study. He was instrumental with the community engagements and the programming and the conceptual design, which you'll see later on in this PowerPoint. Russell Design is also a key component to our team. They're responsible with assisting with the development of how this proposed building addresses the surrounding site. And then we have Epic MRA. For those of you that aren't familiar with them, they're a survey company based out of Lansing. They were instrumental in creating these community surveys to find out what the community needs, likes, dislikes are relative to our community center feasibility study. In your feasibility report that you received, it's broken down into 8 different sections, from the executive summary all the way down to the operational analysis. So we're just going to touch upon some key elements involved in this study, not go through everything, but we just want to make sure that you understand some of the key components that we found by doing this study. The community survey was a big component of how we decided, to craft the analysis, set up the programming, set up the budgets, and then eventually the conceptual design. Some of the key findings that we found with what the Epic did through their survey is that they found out that, you guys are doing a good job. There's 76% positive rating for township services. We also asked this question of, where do you want to see a community center? And we had a strong support for having this community center reside at the township office site. And then we also dove into what kind of elements do you want to see within this community center. And the strongest support was for a running and walking track, followed by a workout, weight, and exercise room, and then a large gymnasium with locker rooms, and then support for a meeting room. So those were the top 4. There were other elements that were desired as part of this survey, but we thought we'd just show you some of the top programming elements that kind of rose to the top here. Then through that, we had a community center program and budget put together. And over on the left is diagrams out the program elements. On the lower right has the bulleted program responses that we gleaned out from the community survey and the telephone survey. Multi-purpose room with for basketball, volleyball, pickleball, followed by the walking, jogging track, fitness area, community meeting room and multi-purpose rooms, a child watch area, and a concession area. So given that this program and how we could integrate this this program into your existing building, we came up with renovated space areas and new addition areas. You'll see some estimated costs associated with this construction. The total project cost, keep in mind, also includes your soft costs, which are your professional fees associated with the build. It could also include contingencies and other elements that are required for this engagement, and also an allowance for furniture that would be associated with this build. It also has an allocation for site development costs. Once we get more into the detail of the project, we'll be able to identify exactly what that is. But right now we have to have a placeholder for those costs involved with our budgets. And this is, I guess, the exciting part of it, really taking that program that we gleaned out from the survey and the community engagements and developing something, a plan, some elevations that kind of really depicts on potentially, where you could go with this community center project. So I'm going to turn this over to Bert, and Bert, you just tell me when you want to go to the next slide.
Okay, sounds good. I think we have a few slides here. I get a little window that comes up occasionally that says my internet connection is poor. So if something happens, Robert, I'm tagging you to take this part of it. You're doing a good job. So
Will do.
As Matt said in the beginning of this, this is conceptual. So conceptual means it's that initial first pass. We sometimes call it a test fit. There's been a program developed as Robert showed us, through surveys and community involvement and analyzing your current space and desired space needs. So what's it, how do you accommodate that? And as the survey also showed, the majority of people preferred that it's on this site. So we actually looked at this 2 different ways. One is conceivably it could be a freestanding building somewhere within this campus, or it could be attached to the building. It made most sense, we believe, to have it as an extension of your current township hall, as opposed to a freestanding building, because for various different reasons, it seemed like there were synergies between things that happen in the new renovated building and what happens within your existing building. So that's a good thing. We strive to create flexible spaces. So by day, it could be part of a senior center, and by evening, it could transition into a child watch and have other things happening. So obviously having these 2 attached, it was beneficial in that respect. Probably requires less staffing as opposed to having a separate building. And then lastly, it appears there was value in the sort of the south wing, the shaded part, your existing community center, which I think was a DPW building at some point. So we thought it had value, not what's on the inside that needs to be demolished and totally reconfigured, but certainly the outside is a shell, and not because it's pretty, but mostly about its structure and the fact that it contains space. So the other thing we heard, which was sort of interesting through one of the workshops, and I think it was from your public safety director or police chief or whatever, there was a sense of, in fact, I think there was an incident that happened, not in your community, somewhere out west or something, but police need to be protected, and they have their own private cars, and you've got fuel tanks on the southern part of your building. So what this allowed us to do with the position of this building is to sever the loop that loops around the entire complex and create an internal parking zone. I imagine that's where most of the staff parks now, but probably put a gate somewhere so that the public stays on the perimeter, and that's a more private area. So just a little bit of a byproduct that came about from this study. The parking lot on the east, the existing parking lot needs to be reconfigured somewhat. We think we can save part of it. So, and obviously as your building grows, your parking needs will grow as well. So I think this concept shows that we've met that demand. Let's move on to the next slide. So a little bit of a tour of this sort of test fit. The image you see on the bottom is the first floor. On the top middle, it's the second floor of the new gymnasium. So the center block is the existing community center, and the southern part is the new sort of entry and stair and gymnasium. So if you were to enter this building, unlike today, you sort of enter right back in that corner, which is the worst place to enter a building because you have to walk the furthest. And so we've pulled it away to not compete with senior parking, made it more distant. So we see a new entrance of some sort, a vestibule. You enter into a we would hope would be rather sort of open in its feel, welcoming, maybe a little place to hang out and wait for somebody, or sit on your laptop and do some work or whatever, just a bit of a living room as you focus straight on as you enter. That is the fitness room. So that's where you'd have cardiovascular and free weights and miscellaneous sorts of things. So loose sort of equipment. If you turn to the left, down, so that's a new gym. It's probably double the size of the current gym that you have, and has the proper height to allow you to play volleyball and other sorts of things without hitting the ceiling. And then there's a stair and elevator to access a loop track within that space. That was something that was highly desired by the group of people we interacted with. And you'd have these incredible views looking to the park to the south from that space. If we're back at the main lobby lounge sort of living room area, if you're greeted there by a control desk, much like you are today. I think we see this maybe a little bit more open. It's connected to the Parks and Rec offices so they can support one another. And as you transition to the north into that sort of corridor leading up, there is a fitness studio. So that's an enclosed space, segregated, acoustically buffered for dance and aerobics and spinning and all kinds of studio type environments. Further up, we heard people wanted locker rooms and showers and of course toilet rooms. Across from that, there are some multi-purpose rooms that typically you might even rent those out. They're actually great revenue generators to have kids' birthday parties and things like that in a space like that. And then as you transition up, we're getting into sort of a renovated area We've created a multi-purpose room, which also serves as child watch when it's required. And there's some miscellaneous reconfiguration of the senior center offices, which I think very odd right now. I think they're like 3 different pieces, so we put them all in one room. So we think from a test fit standpoint, it's very efficient, and I think would be kind of fun to enter and pass through. The images that you see to the left and the right sort of correspond with the floor plan. So you get a peek of this sort of seniors game room. There's a child watch, second item down. It just gives you a sense of what those spaces might look like. There's the fitness studio. You can see, I think that's aerobics and dance. Below that is the sort of the open fitness area. The current building, by the way, in this area has like no daylight. So, we would carve new windows and let people see out and let the daylight in and make it a great place to be. And on the lower left-hand corner, there's the opportunity to maybe have an outdoor activity space just south of the gymnasium that you can sprawl out into if you have an event. It's raining, everybody inside, or on a nice summer day, you have some activities happening in the gymnasium, and again, it sprawls out and you do other kinds of things. And but also the opportunity to project could be a fun thing in the evenings on the side of the building and have movie night. If we shift to the right, side images at the top, just a peek of what that track might look like. We've below that, we've all been in conference rooms, so we know what those look like. We can't go there today, but we used to, and we will again. Post COVID. You see a party room there, so again, for a little investment, those are highly desirable and a great way to bring people to the building. And you get a peek of the gymnasium below that. A gym today is obviously not just for basketball and for volleyball, but pickleball has become incredibly popular. We might even have conversations about floor materials. Sometimes we use a multi-sports type floor, which allows you to do other things within that space without destroying it. And then you get another peek of the what that outdoor space might be, that plaza, to sort of replace what I think we're encroaching onto. So the next slide. So this always comes with great risk because I know Baskin Robbins, I think, still has 31 flavors. I don't know. I like them all, but some people prefer chocolate, others prefer strawberry or something. So the intent of these images was to show sort of the form of the building, what it might look like from a character standpoint. It's just a first pass that's been done with no interaction with your community. I would think from a philosophical standpoint, as you expand your existing township hall, we know you've made some improvements, that this should be done in harmony with that. And so maybe it has some stone elements like you've been doing at your front entryways. It's been a while since I've been there, but I think the sign in the front finally got uncovered. But when they did, we were actually inspired by that. You have a beautiful logo. So the front entrance, maybe it's in the shape of a wave. So it might relate a little bit to and be uniquely Van Buren Township. And so the main part of the building remains as is. You see that subtle slope roof. Maybe we'll skin it with some brick or stone or other sorts of things to make it more attractive and poke some windows in it to let some daylight. And then the gymnasium is a typical gymnasium block. And as I mentioned earlier, I think there's opportunity to put windows and drive light into that space. And when you are walking, jogging the track, you get an opportunity to not only look down into the activities below, but to the outdoors. And you do have a wonderful park just south of this. So I think we have a couple more images. So these are, again, just very conceptual. Please don't go build this tomorrow. There's a whole design phase that architects work through to work with you to make this uniquely Van Buren Township. So again, you just get a few peeks of what it might look like from a form and massing and materiality standpoint. So I think that's it.
Okay, are there any, there are questions, I am sure. And I can't see anybody but Sherry.
We had a call. That's all that is on the concepts. We wanted to talk about the analysis. If you don't, we're almost done.
Okay.
One of the things that our team wanted to focus on was we knew how much money we could spend to build it. We had an idea. We were given a range in which we had to work with to come up with the best fit of activities, elements, and building to meet the needs of the community and the elected officials, as well as the engineering of it, making sure we could build it that way. As you saw, the price tag of building this, in theory, is about $7.25 million. And that's something that we believe is reachable and feasible based on the things that we know in our budget and our plan and future. One of the things we didn't know, and one of the reasons that the feasibility study was so important, was how much is it going to cost to operate this building. And as we worked with Plant Moran, believe it or not, they are more than just accountants, but in this case, they dug in the numbers and put together what they believe are, based on our budget, what our expenses are for the township, recreation, parks, and lake. So
Matt, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Could everybody put, except for Matt, go on mute?
Yeah, everybody go to mute. Everybody.
Okay, thank you. So we went through all the expenses for recreation as well as the expenses for parks and lake. And the number on this table, if you look at the 2020 budget here, this is the 2020 budget of Parks and Rec and Parks and Lake together, which is about $805,000. Okay, right there. Yep. And then if you go to the additional column, which is the next column, that is the cost added on. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robert. It's the cost added on if we added the facility to the property, correct? Robert is shaking his head yes. So now I want you to look at not the next line. I want you to look at the 2022 budget. Okay, that white line there, the white column, 2022 budget. It takes, if we worked on this project this year with the expenses of staff costs, which includes child watch, the programming, custodial, operational supplies, concessions, and additional supplies for the additional areas, contracted services that go with those facilities, keeping up the equipment, keeping up the maintenance. Same thing with building maintenance, additional telephone costs, additional utilities, and then the other things that have to be paid for, such as printing, publishing, capital improvements, maintenance, instructors for classes, as well as the other obligations of the Parks and Rec Department, Parks and Lake, our actual park maintenance. When you add that in, it puts the Parks, Rec, and Parks and Lake budget at about $1,110,000, right in there. As you're aware, Parks and Rec is in almost all communities. Parks and Rec is not a revenue generator. If you can get a project to break even in Parks and Rec, that's a huge victory. Currently, our Parks and Rec program does a fantastic job, but we also know that the general fund and the township supports those programs through the general fund. Okay. And that's this number of $805,000 that we pay right now is supported by the general fund. If you look at the 2020 budget, 2020 total budget in revenue. Sorry, take that back. The 2021 budget in revenue, which is, yep, right there. This number at the bottom is how much we project to generate from the existing services right now under our revenues that the township will recoup from projects. So that's the waste management grant, the SMART grant, summer camp fees, pavilion rental and park entry, and additional recreation classes. So that comes up with about $156,000. So currently the township subsidizes or uses the general fund to bring these great programs and services to the township for about $681,000. Okay. If the township decided to move forward with operating this facility, we would add about what looks to me about 100, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, in the 2022 budget, it's about 100,000 more from 681 to 780. Right in there. Am I reading that right? Yes. And if we continue to expand and fully utilize the service, it is expected that the entire program will cost the township a total budget in 2023 for Parks and Rec and Parks and Lake of $1,169,153, of which approximately $341,000 worth of revenue would be generated based on Robert Stempian and Pleitmeyer and Kress's projections, because the new community center would generate revenue. That revenue is shown as through, if we decided to charge a membership fee, which would only generate about $60,000. Our fitness programs that would be additional would bring another $52,000. Child Watch, if we decided to do that, would bring another $21,000. Room rental would bring about $8,000. Birthday parties about $14,000. And vending and concessions, if we decided to go that route, would add about $15,000. So if you add all those things up, we would only be spending approximately another $200,000 in general fund dollars to operate the facility than we currently are right now, based on the revenue that we're generating, because we will build more revenue and balance it out.
Okay, are you all set now?
That's the basic facts of the feasibility study, and I'm going to turn it over to the next page for Elizabeth.
Yeah, like the funny part, I'm laughing over here is because I did the whole thing about 6 months ago when they first gave me the numbers. I told them to use the synergies of what we had over there, and because I figured it'd be closer to $200,000 a year. You guys got the same number. You got it a different way, but same number. It's cool.
All right, so I'll be super quick and wrap this up. So with the feasibility study complete, the community center is ready to be moved into the next phases of the project. So pending board approval, it's been recommended that an additional round of community engagement occur before developing the design and bid docs. This was recommended because the original community engagement that occurred, which was during the phone survey and during the master plan meeting, was done so before the feasibility study was completed. Now that the team has a better idea of what we can operate, along with a rendering and a rough design concept in mind, it would be able to be more fine-tuned through one more round of engagement. So with board approval, that would be the next phase of the project, but we're available to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, does anybody have any, well, let me ask one question. Was that 2 gymnasiums or 1 gymnasium there? 2 basketball courts or 1 basketball court?
Bert?
You're mute.
It's 1 high school size, but typically we would put a opportunity to drop a curtain. so that you can run two programs side by side, pickleball or basketball for guys like me that can't run full court anymore. So it does go, and you can run basketball on one side and volleyball on the other side. So it gives you the flexibility.
Okay.
Do we need pickleball? We just built some courts.
Yes, the user group that is out there wants winter activity of pickleball as well as summer activity of pickleball.
Now, one of the reasons why this budget's not going to go up very high is because, quite frankly, the seniors and the Parks and Rec were going to be synergies together, because this is going to be really a senior center probably during the day more than anything else, just because they already used the hell out of that gym. But as soon as after school starts, they're going home, and that's just the way they do it.
That was pre-COVID. The world has changed now, Kevin.
Okay. All right. So I assume that everybody wants to ask questions. So Doug, do they? Let's start with Trustee Martin, since I can't see anybody.
Can you go back to the screen of the Board of Trustees? Thank you.
Okay, so I can tell you that when you guys started this whole thing, the proposal that we have just seen falls into all the parameters that the board gave me and that I believe that we can afford. I think that we are on solid ground with the presentation that we just saw. I've already sent the booklets out. After I sent the booklets out to you, make sure you got them first. I am now prepared to send them out to the Parks and Recreation, the Recreation Committee as the next step. But I will stop talking and let somebody else talk. Trustee Miller, do you have any comments on this?
I'm going to wait. I want to hear what others have to say. I'll circle back.
Okay, Trustee Boynton, would you like to talk on it yet? Okay. I know.
I'll go ahead. If nobody else talk. I'll talk. I like the concept. I mean, everything I see so far, I'm shaking my head. Yeah, I like it. The next phase, is what I'm just in disagreement with. I don't see a reason for another round of community engagement. I thought we've had plenty of that. If we was talking about putting on the millers to build it, then I would say, yeah, we need another round of community engagement. But we're not discussing that. We're talking about something that's going to be built with the township budget. So with that being said, I wouldn't think that we need another round of community engagement. I mean, we've had a lot of it. I think we talked about this in different settings. We talked about it in the master plan setting. We talked about it with the survey. The Park and Rec has talked about it. We've engaged with people, with the seniors coming in every day. I haven't had anything negative, and looking at the survey, I don't see anything negative. So I don't know why do we need another round of engagement to look at the same thing that we're probably going to get. That's my only issue. I don't see that. I don't see what we need that.
I'm going to speak against that, but it's not for the same reason that you might think. First of all, it's obvious that there's not going to be a community up in arms about not doing this. They want to do this. 76% saying they want to do it. 80-some% with under certain parameters want to do it. I guess the best thing though about a community involvement is to really get what you want out of this thing. They're going to come up with ideas that we didn't think of. I've had people say, why don't you have a kidscape inside of there for all the kids having bad birthdays? That sounds like a great idea. Another person brought up the idea about a walking track that might extend outside. Great idea. How about a concert stage on the outside of the thing? These are just ideas that you don't get. Another person suggested an idea of a trellis of flowers that was almost like a maze garden out there that could make it look nice between the parking lot and it. I mean, you get some ideas.
Kevin, that's exactly what I'm saying. Of course, you're gonna get ideas, but those ideas come with a price. I mean, if we have a set amount that we can go up to, and we know that. I mean, yeah, if we're gonna say, give us more ideas, those ideas gonna add money to the cost of the recreation center, then I would be all in. That goes back to exactly what I'm saying. I said, if we are asking them to build it, then yes, we need all the engagement that you can get. But if we sticking to the goal that we previously said, that this is going to be paid for by township funds, then I just don't see it. I mean, why we continue to ask questions that we know what we're going to get? We're going to get things that are going to add cost to the recreation center. They probably, some going to want a pool, some going to want a walking track outside, some going to want a bigger garden, some going to want whatever. But we know what we can pay for, and then we went out and we've asked the basic things that we think the public want, our constituents want, and I think they've answered. If we're going to build a Taj Mahal, yeah, you go back and you get all the ideas you can get, but we're not looking to build a Taj Mahal. Like I said, I like the concept, looks pretty good. It may need to take one or two things and move, maybe tweak a few things, but what I see right now is pretty much what I think that everybody's been proposing and what they expect they're going to see going forward, unless we're going to add more money to the pot.
I think we're not very far apart, because I don't think the community involvement part is going to be a yes or no on it. It's going to be more like, what is it going to be? I believe it's going to help our designers out in designing a better facility. And it's only going to take 3 months or so, 4 months. So we've got to, we're not going to be building this thing next winter, in the winter anyway. So that's probably when our construction docks will go out. I don't see a problem. I mean, I'm not arguing building it. I think we're on the same thing.
I say, well, give me a timeline that you look and you see.
Okay, yeah, that might help. I believe that the timeline would be that first of all, we send it back to recreation, and we let recreation start up. I believe within after we get we start going to our redevelopment ready community outreach system that we had. That will take you about 3 to 4 months to get a solid everything done. Okay. With interaction. I believe that that's the number. I'd ask Elizabeth right now, but I'm going to get through this thing. We then send it off to the architect. I would expect October, November that we would be going out to bid or a spring build begin. Would that be a good thing, Bert? Somebody out there that knows more than I do?
Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, that was something that we discussed, how long would it take to develop documentation and get this ready for bid? So we're looking at, fourth quarter of this year and then a spring build. So we would bid it, in the latter part of the year and then start construction in the spring of 2022.
One of the things. So I can finish my part of it. I could go with something like that. But if we expanding it to a 2023 spring bill, then I'm a no-go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I have Trustee Miller. Josh, do you have a short? Is that a short on point?
No. Okay. Go ahead.
So let me understand this correctly. You're going out to the public one more time, out to our residents one more time for more input on ideas. And I think we already have a lot of good ideas, and it really gets down to dollars and cents here of what we can afford. So I understand the timeline is workable as Clerk Wright has said, but is it really necessary? You have Parks and Recreation, use those people. That's what they're for. I don't see why we need to go out again, spend more money on getting more input when it's all right here in this feasibility study. So I'm for just moving ahead and really utilizing the Recreation Committee. I don't see the point in going out for more answers or feedback. You did it. What I don't understand is why you did it by telephone. The internet, I mean, social media. Kevin, you saw, what was it, a spring or two ago? The impact that had. The residents were giving their opinions, and it was very high that they wanted this. And Kevin saw that. There's only so much we can do with so many dollars. And I think the rest could be provided again by Parks and Rec Committee. And that way we can move forward quicker, but it's not up to me.
Anybody else?
And
To
Trustee,
the chair.
I got Martin, Bud, and then Wright, because we have to go around once, and Frazier. And then we
Okay.
go back to Clerk Wright.
Yeah, I've looked over this feasibility study. It's a pretty comprehensive study, and I agree with Trustee Miller and Clerk Wright that we've reached out to the community, and they've expressed what they want for this center. And also, I agree with Trustee Miller that our funding is limited, and what we've seen them propose is well within our budget. So I think to go out again to get more ideas I don't think it's a good idea either. We have the Recreation Department, which also has the Recreation Committee, which also has the 2 student representatives, who I think can communicate with their school and their classmates, and talk about some of the things they'd like to see in programming they like to see at the center. I think we have a pretty good plan here right now with the money that we have said that we can afford to spend.
Okay, Treasurer Bud.
I would agree with what comments have been made, but when the comment was made about a walking track inside that would go outside, I think the biggest thing that I think that would be something that would be good to look at, and make sure that the parking lot's not in the way, so that you're not trying to tear something up later. So I guess I would like the Recreation Committee to look at it. And I mean, sitting at my desk and watching the people that walk, there's a lot of folks that walk every day on the sidewalks. So if it was a nice day and somebody wanted to walk inside and then be able to be connect that right to the walk outside, I think those things are valuable, and maybe the Recreation Committee can look at it and we can move forward. But if we aren't even looking out to going out until the end, putting it out for bid by the end of the year and starting next spring, I still think we have enough time with the Recreation Committee. If they put out a note and said, if anybody had any concerns, they could come to the Recreation Committee, because ideas are not bad, just so long that, and some of them don't have to cost as much money, as we just have to make sure that if there's more money out there to do something, they could be connected without having a bigger expense. That would be my comment.
Thank you, Treasurer Bud. Miss Trustee Frazier moved. Trustee Frazier, you're on mute. Trustee Frazier, you're on mute.
Okay.
There you go.
No, I got my question answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Wright, you are back.
I think Trustee Miller and Martin said it. That's the only thing I was referenced to. I thought that I think, and me, I always want to use the public opinion, but I think we went out and got plenty of that. And I just think that we can utilize the Recreation Committee to get whatever other opinions that we need. I didn't even think about the student reps. Yeah, they could talk to their peers and see something if we need anything more. I mean, I'm not 100% against it as long as it's in the timeline, but I just know, I mean, I've been vetting this for 12 years. I can tell you pretty much what you're gonna. It's been a long vet, and so you understand what I see and what I've been hearing. Basically, been hearing the same thing for 12 years, and nothing has changed. And I don't see nothing that's going to change in another 3 months by going back out. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Okay.
I think we should use the people that we've appointed and rely on them. We have commissions and committees, and if you use them, they'll give you the right data, the right research, the right opinion. So let's rely on the people we have appointed to do just this.
Okay, I have two people. I have my director, Beth, and Bert Kosick that wants to speak. I think I'll start with Bert Kosick and then I'll come back to Mr. Boynton.
I just want to answer, you asked for me to respond to something earlier. You obviously have a better sense of how to get your community to accept this and make sure we design the right product. But typically, we probably have more scientific information than we ever have, because we don't typically get involved in doing surveys to the extent that we did, and the findings were extremely positive. We did have multiple workshops, and I think we included, maybe not the Parks and Rec board or commission. I think we did. So at least from my perspective as an architect, as a designer, I feel I got good information, meaningful information that sort of established the concept. Typically, what architects do is our next phase is called schematic design. And there's a lot of interaction that happens, call it community engagement, during that schematic design process. It's not like we're going to take what's done here and go develop it and make blueprints or construction documents and give it to you and say, go build it. There's a very interactive process during that schematic design phase that we could certainly embark upon. And typically that phase probably takes, a couple months for a project like this. So
that might be exactly what I've been talking about, because it's not that I'm saying we have to go to the public to get them to buy into it. So like I said, they already bought into it.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, what do we build? Director Beston Boynton.
Yeah, as I was going to say a few minutes ago, basically almost exactly what Bert Kosick was just said. The process that we're following and where we are, if we don't go back and get comments about the feasibility study, that's okay. That's okay. While we thought it was, we were still recommend that that's a good idea. That's okay, because the next step in the process for design, working with Robert and Bert, is to do that schematic design process. And under that process, there's not only ideas that are thrown around that are going to be different than the concepts you saw, if they fit, but there's going to be different looks, different orientations, and there's going to be a group that has to come in and make comments on that. And if the recreation committee is where you want us to utilize, who you want us to utilize to get those comments and feedback from until we get a design, that will take 3 months at least. As part of the plan that we're on right now, when we selected Plant Moran and Newman Smith, the idea was for them to do the feasibility study, oversee the design and project, hire a project manager, do the project estimating, get the design bids and specs done, and help us bid out the project, at which I believe we're still planning on doing sometime this fall, early winter, before the end of the year, to bid out this project. I see Robert's sort of shaking his head. Yes, yes. So this fall, no matter what we do, whether we add feasibility study outreach or do this design schematic, which is going to have a lot of public outreach to it, that timing is the best for all of us, because of two things. One, it's cheaper to get our contractor at that time. We're going to get a better price, number one. And number two, there's going to be changes. There's going to be lots of changes to that plan. That doorway entryway could change. That orientation of the track could change. All these things are going to be worked out into schematic design. We may find a structural problem with the building that changes how we're supporting everything on that second floor when we start pulling drywall off and looking at it. So as long as you're comfortable with the time frame of breaking ground sometime in the beginning of 2022 and having this thing up and running, hopefully by the end of the year, beginning of 2023, because that's how long it's going to take to really get this thing done. That's where we're at. We weren't planning on adding, I don't think there was a plan to add more time. It's just this process has to be done the right way. We want to build it. And I think with hiring a project manager, doing a guaranteed maximum price, doing the design schematics, bids and specs, getting that up done by the end of fall and bidding it out, we're going to get the best price, the best product. And I think the community is going to be happy for that. So.
Hey, one last comment.
I have Mr. Boynton, unless you wanted to speak on directly to that one point quickly. Mr.
Yeah, and one last comment. Director Best, I have no problem with what you did, the schematics. Yeah, I think as long as you stay on this timeline, I'm just saying, and I agreeing with Trustee Miller, is that I think we appointed a public safety committee. We have a committee that's a great group of people, and they do a great job discussing the amenities of parks and recreation. But the problem is that we never gave them a major project to work on. This would be a major project. We have some people that has been sitting on that committee for numerous years. They know this township in and out. They know the parks, they know the schematics, they know the people. And I just think when you got a committee and you don't use them, I mean, why did we organize?
I am sitting next to the
Well, wait, let him finish.
Why do we organize a park and rec committee if we're not going to vet them out to do what they should be doing? And I think this is a great
our
thing for them to
intention
do.
all along to bring
That
this.
was always the plan to send it to the recreation. They're getting their booklets. They got them already. And they're getting it in what, next week or a week after that?
And then we'd be going through the booklet pretty heavily in that February meeting. Yes, sir.
And well, that's what I'm saying. That's who we should be working with this with the schematic parts of the instead of going back bending it with the public. That is our public. The committee is the public that sits on this committee. I mean, I just see it being that piece of it being redundant. I'm okay with the schedule. I just think that piece that you were saying, that going back with the feasibility study and vetting it with the public, which I think that has been vetted enough. But the schematics of it, I have no problem with you taking that and vetting it along as much as you want with the Park and Rec committee, because I think you have some very knowledgeable people that sit on that committee. I'm very pleased with the people that sit on that committee, and I think they could give you some great feedback.
Okay.
I know you said you're going to do it, but that's my scope. I think that's the way it should go. And the timeline is, if you're going to do it like that, the timeline is fine with me.
Okay, I'll get Mr. Boynton, you've been so patient. I am so sorry it took so long to get back. Go ahead.
Not a problem. As with everyone else, I don't have a problem with anything. I think that Robert and Bert, if you will, I think what you've done is a fantastic job. Matt Best, I think what you've done is a fantastic job. And all of the comments that have been made by the township board, on point, very good. And you don't need me to stroke you or anything else, but I do have something that I'm going to bring up, and it's probably going to be costly. It's going to cause us to spend some money. And it's the one thing that I have not heard or read about at all. I have the booklet here. I have it right here. I was reading it today. I read it over the weekend. And my concern is safety, public safety. I do not know anywhere inside the booklet where it makes any mention toward where will people go if we have a storm that rolls through. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Where inside the place are they going to go? Now, I'm not saying that you have to give me something to the nth level. I'm not saying that. If that's something that is going to happen at the Planning Commission, fine, I'll go to the Planning Commission. If the Recreation Commission is going to do it, fine, I'll go sit in the Recreation meeting. Whomever is going to figure that out, I will go and sit and be a part of that, because that's what I'm concerned about. I'm always hearing about how a storm comes through and the gymnasium folds in like a deck of cards, or it's completely blown away. Now, we've been lucky. We've been skirted to the south, we've been skirted to the north, we've been skirted to the west, and we have not had a direct hit, from what I can remember, from a direct storm. But what I want to know, what I want to see is, where are folks going to go during a storm if it comes along? There has been no discussion about that at all. For the type of facility that we're building, there should be some mention of that, even if it is as little as, well, we're going to hash that out later on and we're going to do it here. But my opinion and my condition as far as the project itself, it looks great. It looks great, but I want to know about safety. I want to know what's going to happen. Is it going to be a fallout shelter? If so, how are we going to accommodate that? And what level of a fallout shelter is it going to be? And I'm going to be quiet.
Bert, would you like to answer that question for him?
I know where I'm going. I'm going to the gym. But you make some good points, and, we could go above and beyond to make sure that, it can accommodate people in a safe manner. Knock on wood, we've never had an issue with any of our buildings. And Robert, I don't know if I know, there are some public buildings that are maybe designed structurally to a higher standard specifically for shelter purposes, but so it's duly noted, and certainly should be discussed and studied as part of that schematic design process.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Okay, actually, I'm going to go, and then I'm going to ask you guys something, and then you can go.
Well, it's to that point.
Okay, it's to the point.
Okay, so we could also include this in the emergency plan that we already have in place moving forward.
Okay. All right, so yes, we can. Absolutely. We would have to develop a new emergency plan also.
Right.
So, okay, so I haven't really spoke on this yet. So, but I don't think that there's a difference really with what you're asking, what I'm hoping to do. I think this schematic design system that you're talking about is exactly what I'm thinking about. Whereas where you work closely with the recreation department, I will figure out a way to make the recreation department relevant to the public by putting ads in the newspaper or running them on social media about the recreation's meetings, so the public can get involved. I will find a way to make that happen. And then we can move the schematic process along quicker. So I don't see a problem there. We're still thinking alike. It just, figure it out.
That's a good idea.
We've gone around twice now, and a lot of us have talked more than twice. So we're supposed to ask, do we want to continue the discussion, or do we want to end the discussion at this time? A thumbs up is all we need. Do we want to end the discussion at this time? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So the discussion is ended at this time. At this point in time, though, the plan that our directors have brought forward is to take it next to the recreation committee, to have them begin vetting out exactly what they want to do and what works out well. I, on the other side, am going to go with a communications group to let the public know that we are moving forward with this project, and we would like some input. I see a confused Director Best.
I just want to make sure we're clear on what you'd like us to do, because if we had 2 steps in our plan after this one. So we had 4 steps in our project. Phase 1 was doing the survey or the feasibility study, which we completed. The second was outreach. It sounds like we're skipping that step and moving toward the design, the schematic, which is the pieces that does the public outreach while working through the course.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you where you're at. You're still doing public outreach, because that recreation committee, if they make a decision in one meeting or in 2 meetings, that I'm going to be considering the fact that they didn't think to put any thought or work into it. I expect 2, 3, 4 meetings out of them to figure out exactly what works and what doesn't. Meanwhile, I'm going to be inviting the public to those meetings.
So you're not cutting it out.
Do they meet every month?
There probably should.
And
think
they
they
could call a
need to-
special meeting for this. I'm sure they would be okay with that, correct?
No, we don't meet
Clerk
every
Wright?
month, but we can meet
You're gonna-
as needed until we
I've
get this
told each
project.
of them they got some heavy lifting to do this year, and so to get ready.
Okay, so the direction is for us to meet with the Recreation Committee until they're happy with the concept?
Hopefully that you're going to work with the Recreation Committee to develop the concept. Because I already know some big holes in that plan that I don't like at all. And I want added in. So,
Okay, I think I'm gonna take that direction, and Supervisor, if we can meet again and discuss it more, I would greatly
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Probably all
I hope you include Clark Wright on that too.
I add something to that.
yes.
Maybe allow Robert and I to put together a work plan, how we might move forward to engage the public, get input, while the design is working forward. And again, we would commonly do that, but maybe support you with a work plan so you can see what that process might be and what the expectations are that we're asking of your board members to support us in the process, to make it meaningful and efficient for their purposes as well.
So
I
the
guess
work
what-
plan
I
would
guess-
go to the Recreation Committee, correct?
Just right quick, Director Best, what interaction, what would you put forth in regards to a plan to work with the public? I mean, would you do another survey or what is that plan? What would you do? You hold meetings? What would you be doing?
Well, from what I'm hearing from the supervisor and what you want us to bring the conceptual plan that's in the feasibility study to the Recreation Committee to get their comment and on what is there and what is not. and any other-
That's what I'm proposing, but I'm going back to the feasibility study. If you were to do the feasibility study, you said you wanted to have a community engagement, what would be your engagement? What would you do in a COVID arena? What kind of engagement would you have? Would you do
Okay,
another
so
survey?
I'll
You couldn't
answer.
have face to face. That's what I'm saying. Are you gonna have Zoom engagement, Zoom
Yeah.
meetings and invite the public? What would you do?
That would be the plan. I would use the redevelopment ready community plan that we use for community outreach.
Exactly. So why can't we have a park and rec committee meeting and then invite the public? It's the same, you got the same thing
I'm
happening.
happy with that.
Yes,
I'm happy.
very
Matter of fact,
good.
we invite the public to every meeting. They just don't show up. But
I
maybe if
want
you
to
invite them
invite
to a
none of them.
Zoom meeting, we can get that exposure. I'm just saying, that was my whole comment. It's the same thing. We was talking to apples.
Like I said, I think we're closer than you think. So, yeah. Okay.
So after the Recreation Committee comments on the concept plan, and we get a recommendation to move forward, that's when I would move Plant Moran, Cressa, Newman Smith to move forward with the design, the schematic, the hiring of the project manager, and the putting together the bids and specs, correct?
We will develop that through the Recreation Committee. And Bert and Robert, I would like that plan put together for the Recreation.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all set. We've got it all. I think we're all set.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, so the Recreation Committee is also going to get a timeline to work off.
Yep.
So through the chair.
Yes, I heard somebody.
Yeah, that was me. So Plant Moran, Cressa, what is it? Cressa, are they going to be the designers and architects of this, or?
That's a good point. We have no,
Are we hiring an architect? Are we just doing conceptual ideas or?
that's a
Through the
good
chair.
point. Matt?
So when we did the original hiring of this, it was for the process to get it to design, to the bidding out process. So we went through and did a competitive bid. Plant Moran and Newman Smith and Russell through their Russell Design won the bid as a team. The next phase would be Plant Moran with Robert Stempian being the overall project overseer. Bert Kozak and Newman Smith would be the architect. Robert would develop the specs for the project manager. The project manager is the person that does all the estimating, the hiring of subcontractors, the approval of the design. It saves us a ton of money. And then we by the end of the fall, this group would develop plans and specs ready to bid for construction. And we would hire the project manager would then hire contractors with a guaranteed maximum price not to go over, so that we would have a limit on our costs. And that would be done in the fall.
Supervisor.
All right, what's that?
Supervisor.
Mr. Frazier. Frazier.
I'd just like to see us move forward. I think we've got good leadership here, and we need to, move off dead center and keep it going. And I'd like to see us, take the next steps with Plant Moran.
Okay, we do have a plan, and we're really not that far off, Clerk Wright, myself, and I don't think we're far off at all. If you break, but otherwise, Bert, Robert, can you guys get us that formalized plan, take into account what the clerk, myself, and everybody else wants? All right. We're moving forward. I'm going to end the discussion now. Say we're moving forward, and it's going to go to the Recreation Committee at their next meeting, which I believe is next week. Right? And normally I say, trustees, you should stay away from committee meetings because final comes to you anyway. I'm not going to say that. If we're going to run it this way, anybody that wants to go to that committee meeting is welcome to go to that committee meeting. You are a non-voting member, but you are welcome to go to that meeting. All right. Next item is discussion on to consider approval change of the township administrative office business hours to by appointment only until March 31st of 2021. Since it is a motion, I'm going to ask for a motion.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I move we change the current township administration office business hours to by appointment only until March 31st, 2021.
Support.
Who supported?
Don.
Holy crud. I'm going down in flames on this one. Okay. So what is the reasoning for changing the hours?
Through the chair.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm going to cite, since I made the motion, I guess I can speak first. I'm going to cite the uptick in COVID cases that we've seen throughout the state and the region, with now the reports of the UK strain appearing in Michigan. I think that it's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. In this case, I don't think that we have that much traffic where people cannot make appointments to come and do the business they have to do at the township offices. They can mail their water bills in, they can mail their taxes in even. And if there's a uptick in people that want to pay their taxes or in person or whatever, then we can make arrangements for that. But I think it's just part of keeping the public safe and keeping our employees safe.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to speak against, since I am against it. And I think everybody knows I'm against it. I didn't even want to go to the split shifts. And the current system we have now is a compromise from what I wanted to, what everybody else seemed to want. And I was against it because it just didn't work very well the first time around. And I believe in my heart that government should be open. It should be engaging. It should be there, especially during hard times. It should be open, engaging, and open arms to the people that it serves. And we do serve people. We have open, this building is open. It's open for blood drives, Meals on Wheels. Van Buren has 2 food banks. We've just added another one, the Forgotten Harvest. We're open and people are coming into this building, not a lot, but a few people are coming into this building. And when they come in, they want to pay their bill. If you open that door to let them in for an appointment, they're going to walk in and say, I want to go see the treasurer and pay a bill. They're not going to see anybody in this building. And they're going to say, why can't I go down to the treasurer's office and pay the bill? They'll be looking right down there. So I'll tell the screener, call down to the treasurer's office, make an appointment right away for them and send them down. Because that's the only thing we can do. Because these people are not internet savvy. They don't call on the phones. The governor, this is the hindsight of this thing. Myers is open, Walmart's open, everybody is open but the food places. And why we wouldn't be open, I don't know. This is the end of the thing. The numbers have really dropped in the last few days. We had 0 yesterday or 2 days ago, which was amazing. I just think that it's a bad sign to give to the people when government closes because things are tough, especially this late in the game when we're coming out of the problem, not into it. So that's my attitude. Go ahead.
Through the chair.
Sure.
In order to protect our residents and our community as much as possible, I do think that it's important that the board do everything we can to slow the spread and protect not only our residents, but our staff as well. And I hear what you're saying, Supervisor, about how everybody's open to a point. Townships have to serve the people. I most certainly understand that, but we need to be an advocate here to slow the spread. And we're not closing it to the public. We're simply by appointment only. If they need to pay a water bill, they can drop the payment in the box. There's other ways to go about that. You say our residents aren't internet savvy. You don't have to be here. You don't. If you want to make an appointment, our staff would still be on hand, still taking phone calls. And an appointment, they know how to set. So if they really need to come in and pay a water bill, they can make that appointment. That we're not telling people that we're closed totally. We still need to encourage all residents to utilize telephone, Dropbox, and online services. And the U.S. Mail will also continue. So documents and payments can be dropped off, and the staff, as I talk to many of the staff, they're accommodating, they're willing to shift things around. It's not an issue. They have the equipment. They'll still be on hand, like I said, and they'll be there to assist the residents and anyone else. We need to be very aggressive here. And you're right, the numbers have dropped, and it depends if you're looking at the state or just our township. So if you look at the numbers, we're at 1286, 5 new cases. Yes, there wasn't any for a few days, but you had a holiday and a weekend there. But there's been almost 14,000, over 14,000 deaths in Michigan alone. A month ago, we're at 1,072, 15 new cases. Good. We need to do everything we can in our power. Just because it was good for a month doesn't mean it can't slide right back to where it was. And we've seen that with the governor's orders in November. I think we need to be proactive here. And this is something that we can do pretty easily. It's not stopping people from coming in. It's by appointment only. They still can do what they need to do. So I hope the board looks at this.
Okay, you guys are missing the big point. You're staying open by taking appointments. Who's going to stand at the front door and stop these people? They're all coming in the door. This little old lady's
As Nicole told you, that could be worked out.
How? Do you want to work the?
She was going to get back to us. Anyone can scan, Kevin. We can have other scanners. Look, across Wayne County, many municipalities, townships, cities, villages have gone to this. This is not unheard of. So if they can do it, why can't we be that proactive too? We're not closing it off. And there is a stop date here of March 31st.
And I don't want to be Belleville or Canton where everybody just hates their guts and just screams.
Nobody,
about the fact
come
that
on,
people
that's
are gonna close. I
ridiculous.
hear about
Nobody's
Belleville
hating
on a
guts.
weekly basis how rotten it is.
It's-
You constantly hear about the fact that you can't get into Belleville and they've got the door closed, and why are they being like that? I don't
We
want to
don't
be.
constantly hear.
All
Through the
right.
chair, the pandemic is rotten. That's a rotten
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
So
but-
if somebody's angry for 6 weeks, I think that's been dead forever.
logistically, I can't do it unless you guys can tell me how to do it.
Logistically,
how do you
Nicole
leave the
told
door
you that
open?
can be
How do you
done.
leave the door open and let the little old lady in
through
the
the chair.
building and not let her go to the treasurer's office?
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, this is one of the main reasons I stopped fighting this issue, because anything that you want to do can be done. I mean, the reason why Michigan is low as the case is because our governor has done an outstanding job keeping us low. We're one of the lowest rates in the country. And there's a reason behind that. It's because of the protocols that she put in place. People hate her for that. A lot of people hate her, but most people love her. You are always going to have some negativity regardless of what you do. I think what the board is asking for is that because you got this new strain, and also because we have a slow rate of getting people vaccinated, we don't know what this new strain is going to do. The last thing you want to do is take hold and be the dominant strain and end up being something that the vaccine can't control. So the front door can be taken care of. You're still going to need screeners for people to come in. They call, just like they call now, they make an appointment. You're going to have to get used to it at first. And if some old lady come to the front door that don't know, and there's nobody in the building, it may be a possibility that we can send her to the treasurer office, or him to the treasurer office, or him to the supervisor's office at that time. If nobody else is there, if there's no current appointment. But if somebody is there, which is normally is not, last week we had about 262, I think.
That was a rare day.
Nicole was going to give me the totals, but she had an emergency and she's gone. But we had about 262 total, and the biggest portion of that was that Monday, if I'm not mistaken, going to the treasurer office, because we have been closed for like the past 2 weeks. So you take 262 and you divide that by the hours that we're open, and you divide it by how many departments that we're in. I got a rate of about 2.1 people per department, depending on where they're going for the day coming in, that's taking care of things. And some people that come in, they come in families, husband, wife, daughter, wife, 2 kids. That total adds up. It's not, all those are not separate transactions. But we're not asking we don't want to close the township hall down. I think we got to a point where we don't have to close the township hall down. We don't have to do like we did back in last March. We can stay open, and I think that's still a plus. We can stay open and we can cater to our public by doing the same rotation that we're doing now, but staying open, still having a screener at the door. If you put the appropriate signage out there saying, please call and make your appointment. We could also put a sign out there saying, if you have an emergency, call 699-8909, which is our office where I normally go to. And they could call right away. We're looking right at them. If they got an emergency, my staff have no problem going out taking care of the emergency that need to be taken care of right then and there. But I think to limit the exposure of people just coming in, we have a lot of people just come in because I think they're getting bored with being at home. They need some exposure. They walk in with a letter in their hand or a bill in their hand that could have been dropped in the drop box. and they just walk in. We got tons of people came in bringing in ballots, Kevin, that could have dropped the ballot in the drop box, but just wanted to walk into the township hall just because we was open.
I can do that. What you're asking, I can do. That's not a problem. What you're
But
asking,
I mean, that's how that can be handled. It can be handled. We have some great employees at the township that can handle any transaction, any transition that we ask them to do. And I think they can handle this transition just as good as any other transition. And we only ask them for, I think, what you said, Reggie, March 31st. I
Right.
get you're correct. We're in the service industry, but we're also as township officials, and we should be leading by example. And if we don't lead by example, to show our people, our constituents, that we have their best interests in mind, and this is all about their best interest. The transmission rates, I believe, are really going down because people are being more vigilant, finally, and wearing masks and following the protocol that they're supposed to follow. That's why I think that the transmission rate is going down. It's dropped, and in Michigan, it didn't seem like we didn't get that surge we thought we was going to get after Christmas, but a lot of states did. But don't look like we got that, and hopefully we won't get it. But I think that this measure will just help us get through May 31st. Hopefully, the new administration and tomorrow that's going to be sworn in and get the vaccine thing going. I'm hoping, and that's a whole nother issue. I still don't understand why Wayne County, the biggest population in the state of Michigan, gets the same allotment as a county in Florida, North Michigan. Don't make no sense to me. When I was told that yesterday, I could almost fell out of my chair that we get the same allotment that the county in Florida, North Michigan gets is equally allotted. That don't make no sense to me when we know we got the biggest population and we had the biggest cases and the biggest death. That's the inequality to me, if you ask me. And that's what's really need to be taken care of. But I can't handle that. But we need to do as a town, for a township, everything that we can do to keep our people safe until we can get injections in their vaccination in their arm. And you're gonna have people that dislike it, and you know that. But I think the good outweighs the bad always. I've been told that, and I've been proving that in the last 12 years. The good always outweighs the bad.
okay, so the screeners then are going to allow the people in if there's nobody at the counter.
Yeah, we still need screeners.
I can live with that. Because if there's little old ladies out there who want to pay their bill, and there's somebody at the
We
treasury.
get a little old lady at the door, and she needs to pay her bill, and she don't understand the part. And we're not going to turn her away and say, no, go back home and make a phone call.
I can live with that. I'm still going to vote no, just out of principle on this whole thing, because I gave in to get to this.
You wouldn't be Kevin if you didn't do that.
But I can live with that. I can live with that.
All right, it's the solutions and the compromise.
Yeah, but I'm tired of voting yes, doing compromises and voting yes, and they going inching me across the border. Don Boynton.
Do we adjust the motion that's on the floor?
I think that
to say that
the management of that motion would be in my hands anyway.
Yeah, I think we can get around that. I think we have the same motion and still get around that, Don. I believe
It's just logistics.
so we're gonna have a motion on the floor that we're going to vote on, and we're not going to support the motion that we're voting on. Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
we supporting that motion. We're doing exactly what it said, but the only thing we're saying that we will make exceptions if needed to be. That would be decided.
Then why would it be difficult just to add that into the motion?
We can, if you want to.
Your motion, I'm going to vote no anyway.
Who made the motion?
Actually, made by Mr. Martin and Boynton.
Through the chair.
Supervisor.
I'm asking a question. I'm just trying to keep us out of trouble. That's all I'm doing.
Okay, I believe Trustee Martin wants to make an amendment.
Yeah,
Supervisor.
let trustee Bud, let trustee Frazier speak first before I amend it.
Frazier, go ahead.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Thank you. I think, what do you mean you can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better, yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. I think government has to be accessible. It has to be. It isn't our government, it's the people's government. People have to have access to the people that are in power. And if they lose that, then we're crossing the line on a democracy, as far as I'm concerned.
But they
It
have
has-
accessibility.
Yeah, I agree
Okay,
with, I
well,
agree
I
with you.
don't think it should hamper the accessibility that our residents have.
All right.
No,
Yeah,
I
we
agree
have
with
a
that.
system. I don't want to get rid of it, but trustee Martin, would you like to make an amendment?
I will make an amendment, but I'm gonna make a short statement first, as to trustee Frazier. And I don't think we're denying access to government. I think that we are in a pandemic, and as community leaders and elected officials, our paramount goal is to protect our residents and our staff. And I think that's what we're doing. This is just a short-term stopgap measure. And on that vein, I will amend my original motion, and I will make a motion to change the current township administrative office business hours by the appointment only until March 31st, but exceptions can be made on a per case basis.
Perfect.
Support.
Okay. Do I have any more comments on this? Trustee Bud, Treasurer Bud?
I thought about this and watched the amount of people that have come to our counter. There are a lot of people that bring cash. And over when we were closed, when we were picking it up in the mailbox, we had cash being left in the mailbox, which is probably not the safest thing to do. We haven't heard any complaints, but they were leaving cash in the box. I agree with the fact that if somebody comes to the door and there's nobody there, they should be let in, because most of the other communities that have shut down, and I understand the safety thing, but some days with only two of us there, it's going to be hard to try to make an appointment. I don't know who's going to handle making the appointments, because if I got my girl, it's got someone at the counter and the phone's ringing because somebody wants to make an appointment, I don't know how we're going to handle all of that congestion. I only got 2 people on a shift. So, I mean, I see there's problems. I understand what you're saying. And I understand the safety thing. At my age, I'm probably one of the scaredest one of all of you. But we are there and we are doing the job. And I think there's a lot of things that's got to be worked out, and getting the message out to the people right off the bat is going to be the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the message is going to be the hardest part, but Sheriff, if need to, we can help you take appointments. They pretty much call our office. Pretty much is going to be past the current thing right now is they come to the clerk, and we normally transport everybody to where they need to be anyway. So we could help you with the treasurer office making appointments if need to be. Have no problem with that.
And like Canton Township, they take it on cash on a certain day. You know, that we could work this out though.
Well, see, Reggie, I agree with you. Canton is open one day for cash.
Yeah.
And now that the governor is opening more things, there's going to be people are going to expect more things to be open. And we have been probably pretty lenient, in fact, that because we've let people in for so long, and now to shut them out. I think there's just going to be a lot of hard feedback. I don't know the perfect answer. I wish I did. I don't know how it's all going to get scheduled so that these people are being taken care of, and they will be angry. And
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, this is something that we have never seen in any of our lifetimes, you know, plain and simple. I know I'm pretty much saying the same thing that other folks have been saying ever since, well, for the past year. It's a pandemic. It's worldwide. We've never experienced this before. No one knows the answer. No one knows the answer. What we have to do is work it out and work it out as best we can. Some folks are going to be angry. Some folks are going to be happy. Some folks are going to be able to, some folks are just not going to care. Some folks are going to lock themselves up in the house. Some folks are going to buy up all the toilet tissue and all the paper towel and all the hand sanitizers. I mean, we just have to do this wisely and smartly, because in as much as what Trustee Frazier has said is very true as far as democracy and everything else. But one of the major things that we have to keep in mind is that the paramount thing that we have to look after is the health and safety and well-being and good order of the public. That is high on the list, and not very much overrides that. And we have to do what we need to do. It's just that now we're at a time where we have to balance it, and we have to balance it well. What Treasurer Bud said makes sense. What Supervisor McNamara made sense. What Kevin Martin made sense. Actually, everything that we've all said makes sense. None of us are wrong. None of us are wrong. We just have to find a balance. That's it. No arguing, no fighting, no fussing, just find a balance. And I will be quiet.
Agreed. Well said.
Through the chair.
Trustee Martin?
Okay, Treasurer Bud, the taxes are due February 14th. That's when the
Correct.
last day.
Correct.
So what if we keep the treasurer's office open until the 14th, and then after that, everybody's taxes and stuff should be paid. I don't know if you get a lot of foot traffic for water bills or paying in cash, but I think that maybe we can
That's
try
an excellent idea. We could
make it through tax season.
We could scan the front. We could have people, the monitor, say, hey, if you go into the treasury office, which I don't think you're going to get that rate that you got last Monday, Cherry, in one day. But if they're going to the treasury office, yeah, we could just say, let them in, because we know that probably somebody paying cash.
That's
I don't see a big
foot traffic.
Huh?
That's 80.
I don't see a big abundance of people doing that. I was monitoring last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I think, Sherry, you had the big overload on Monday because we were closed that last 2 weeks. But we could try that. Yeah, that's a great idea, Kevin. We could try that and do it like that. But I think the main thing is limiting the exposure, because I think once you say that is paid, then we say, okay, we only taking it by appointment until March 31st.
So
everything else is going to be by appointment, Reggie. But only someone, if they walk up and say they need to go pay they want to go pay their tax bill and they got cash or something, we let them go pay it.
So you're going to only allow, I guess I'm trying to understand this. So if you allow traffic through to the treasurer's office through February 14th, isn't that counterproductive here of what we're trying to accomplish with keeping not only our staff safe, but the residents as well? And if that's 80% of the traffic, what are we doing here?
Well, we're still gonna put the announcement out there that we're doing it by appointment. We're just saying if somebody come to the door and say they want to pay their tax bill, we let them go pay their tax bill.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So is there, Treasurer Bud, I have a last. You have a-
Yeah, comment I was gonna make is that the tax payments are due on the 14th, but they're actually due by 3/1, and I just got a text. Actually, they're due 3/1 because they go delinquent to the treasurer, Wayne County treasurer, on March 1st. They're due in the office by the 14th, and then afterwards there's a penalty if you don't pay it. So people are going to be wanting to pay their tax bills up through 3/1.
We're gonna stay with the original and then just do, I would stay with the original motion and then say with exceptions of emergency. And that should cover it.
Can we call the question now?
Can somebody, what is the motion going to say?
The motion,
Yeah, what is the motion?
Trustee Martin, could you restate your motion, which was perfectly done?
My motion is to change the current township administrative office business hours to be appointment only until March 31st, 2021, except on as per case basis.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a motion and I've already got a second from Mr. Boynton.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
there is no further discussion. Clerk Wright, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Frazier,
Yes.
trustee Boyne,
Yes.
treasurer Bud,
Yes.
yes for me, supervisor, yes.
Sorry. But at least I can make this one work. This compromise we can figure out a way to make it work.
Motion passes.
All right.
All right. I've lost my stuff. Where are we at right now?
We're
Budgetary
to
report.
budgetary.
Reports?
Budgetary report.
Budgetary.
All right, I've lost my stuff. So budgetary reports, we have a few, but they're already in your packet. So now we're down to public comment, right? My memory is correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to comment? A moderator?
Doesn't appear like there is.
Okay, does anybody from the board wish to make a comment on something that did not take place today?
Through the chair.
Yes, Trustee Martin.
You know, the past several years on Martin Luther King Day, I've had to go to other communities to participate in any type of celebration. And I'm hoping that this might be the last year I have to do that. So I'm hoping and I'm asking this board and with conjunction with our Parks and Recreation Department to come up with some type of MLK program celebration, day of service or something like that, that we can commemorate this day in Van Buren Township.
Love it.
Okay.
I second that.
Anybody else? Hearing none, motion for adjournment?
So move.
Mr. Boynton, second by,
Support.
and hearing nobody in the negative, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.